you for visiting the Africa Rising Cycling Podcast, where we share the big and most interesting cycling stories from across the continent of Africa and from around the world where African cyclists are racing and riding. Welcome to the Africa Rising Cycling Podcast. Today, we're thrilled to introduce you to a grassroots player in African cycling development. My colleague Jeremy and I are talking with Charles Guy Makongo, president and founder and the man behind the scenes at the Goma Cycling Club. What's going to be fun about this conversation is that we're going to learn more about Charles Guy right along with all of you. We know him from our Goma Virtual Performance Center, where he works tirelessly to keep kids on bikes in an area of the world plagued by conflict and now threatened by Ebola. Through it all, he keeps moving forward. What prompted this interview, outside of his support in Goma, was his poignant thank you message posted in our VPC group chat. We'll share more about that in the podcast, but for now, let's learn more about who Charles Guy is and what motivates him on the ground in DRC. Welcome, Charles. Thanks for chatting with us.
Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Jeremy.
Super. So there is so much I want to know about you, about the start, about how you started Goma Cycling. There's an incredible article about you in The Guardian from November 15th of 2016, which we'll drop in the show notes. But it's a fascinating look at your early years and what prompted you. So what first inspired you to start the Goma Cycling Club? And since you're from Cameroon, did you end up in the DRC to begin with?
Okay, thank you so much. So, I'm from Cameroon, and in 2009, I got my first international positions in the DRC. It was in Kindu. It was in June 2009, and I was based in Kindu, like the eastern part of the DRC. That another part of the eastern part of it is not known. So I was hired by the American Bar Association as the deputy country director there, and my responsibility was to implement a project funded by the Dutch Embassy in collaboration with other national organizations. So I spent 6 months there, and in February 2010, I became the country director for the American Bar Association because I'm a jurist, a lawyer training. And, I was happy with what I was doing in my job, supporting victims of sexual and gender-based violence, working with local communities in order to fight against sexual and gender-based violence, and also strengthen the justice system in the DRC. I had my bicycle, my own bicycle. I was like crossing the border, going to Rwanda, and going to the Brazil and coming back. And one day I met a group of young cyclists in Goma, somewhere in the main runabout of Goma, and I joined them, and we started to train together. And I said to them, why don't we create a club? I'm sure that if I use the same principles that I'm using in management of the international organization, we could also have people to support us. So that's where it started. And then the journalist of how do you call it again? The Guardian. Yeah, she came in Goma, and she was writing an article about the fight against sexual and gender-based violence, and she was interested by the work done including by the American Bar Association. As I told you, I was the country director there. So while discussing about my activities as professional, I talked to her about my initiative, and that the aim is also to protect boys and girls from for boys, for example, from being part of the armed groups and so on, and for girls, in order to the aim is to protect them against sexual and gender, but so offer another type of perspective, to beyond through sport, and particularly through cycling. So she was interested by that, and then she she wrote the article you mentioned, and then people started to talk about our club, and that's where I met Jan Simpson, who did a lot for the club. And I remember the first question he put to us: if we give you this amount, what can you do with this? And then that's where we started to have his support. We started to receive bicycles, like deep shorts, jerseys, and so on. So that's my contact. So when for the other young boys and girls in Goma started to see that there's already a cycling club organized, they started to come. They started to come, and that's why when we created this dynamic Goma Cycling Club. We started to attend the national competitions. We started to provide cyclists or riders to the national team. We started to be recognized as one of the biggest and structured club in the DRC.
To give our audience an idea, like how many riders are in the club right now?
We are having almost 60 boys and girls we are supporting in Goma. We have now the center there, and thanks to your support as well. In Goma, we are having some of our riders like Joel who are now becoming professionals. We also have a girl. So several things have been done, but the aim was, the initial aim was to protect, because I wanted to continue with what I was already doing in my professional life. That means that protect against sexual and gender-based violence. That was for girls, but for boys also, in order to offer a new perspective, or another perspective through sport in Goma. Because no one can imagine that, cycling, can be developed in Goma.
When did you start to think that this was a real thing, to have a Goma Cycling Club rather than just, a group?
This is like a dream. After the article, we received several, support from people, and I said, once again, this is an opportunity to say thank you to all of you. It's not just about like helping, this group to go with bicycles, it is, there's something behind that is stronger than just like be a cycling club. That's what I'm saying, that we are not doing cycling for cycling. We are doing cycling to protect, to help, people grow. And when we started, I could not imagine that we would be able to win everything that we won, and that to be at the level we are currently. I couldn't imagine. For me, initially, my idea was to do something for my community, be embedded in my community, try to support, use my salary, in order to support, boys and girls in a country that has also provided a lot to me, because I'm having an international position there. I wanted to give back something. And so for me, it was, first of all, protection. And then finally, it became something, because I had the chance to work with disciplined boys and girls, and they took the club to another level. While initially I was saying, okay, we are going to give another perspective, maybe protect boys, protect girls, like educate them, making sure that they are having, at the end of each training, they are having their famous breakfast. Because let's not forget, the situation is absolutely really difficult in Goma. So even the small breakfast, it costs how much? Sometimes it's 2,000 Congolese francs. I'm not even sure that that's $1. But for the group, is this is it's just amazing, impossible. They are always happy to receive this, because it means a lot, to them. And if one day I say, okay, let's because you work hard today, let's go to 3,000 or to 4,000 per person. That's not only even $1. So the people, they will be so happy that I've said, today we'll take our breakfast. Everyone will have 4,000, and we call it maziwa and chapati. That's maziwa and chapati. That's what we call it. So that was the initial idea. And I explained to the Ministry of Sport and to the Federation of Cycling that we have everything. We have 6 riders that have international level. We have bicycles. We have the center. We have everything. So we would like to attend or to participate at that tour as Goma Cycling Club. So it was a big debate in the DRC because this was the first time that this type of discussion is brought for the organization of this competition. So finally, the minister and the federation, they accepted that they will have the national team 2, and Goma Cycling Club. And this was amazing.
There is so much that you have shared with us, and I can tell you're so excited. And you know what? When you were talking, what got me the most is, there's a lot of things going on right now with African cycling, but it always comes down to organizations like yours doing that grassroots work, making sure kids are fed, making sure kids are protected. Like all the flashy stuff and the big teams and things happening, yes, it's all great, but let's never forget where it starts. It starts with somebody like you who wants to give back to their community, who puts their own money in it, and who just makes sure that women are protected, that men don't end up, like you said, in some of these factions, these military factions. Whether these kids ever become professional or not, which, let's be honest, most of them won't because they started too late,
Yeah.
But here's the deal. You've changed their lives forever. You've given them food, education, discipline, all of that. So what did you like? Obviously, all of those things are so important. That's the foundation. But when you saw Joel win at the Tour of Cameroon on that day as a brand new DS, like what went through your head when you saw him cross that finish line?
I was even behind him because, in fact, they went 3 of them in the front, and then the commissioner, how do we call it, the jury, they allowed me like to go behind, to follow them because the big peloton was behind. So I was there trying to tell him, motivate him, and I was seeing the way the order was pedaling, and I was explaining to him exactly what I think he should do. And then at a certain level, before the arrival, they block us. So I did not have the possibility to see the arrival, and the radio was not given the communication. But I was almost sure that, knowing Joel's capacities, I know that he's strong, he's fast, and I said, these 2 are a little bit tired, and I know that Joel wants to win, and I'm sure that will win. So at the arrival, I did not know nothing, and so someone at the line said that Congo, you, and then I started to shout. It was just silly, but I can't, I'll share a video with you. I could not recognize myself on that video. I was like, going up and down. It was like a mixed, how do you say it? I was like happy, and at the same time, I was remembering that, where we came from to get here, from Goma to a stage on UCI competition. It was, I can't even describe it. I can't even describe it. I could not imagine. And that me, who have contributed to create the Goma Cycling Club in 2016 with this group. Joel was already there, but his brother Jimmy was our biggest rider at that time. Joel was still young. I was competing with him. That I've supported Joel all these years, and that I was not supposed to be the manager in Cameroon, but due to the fact that some things happened, I found myself there, and I supported him from the first stage till that stage, and that I'm also the one who was with Joel at his beginning, and who is also there at the moment where he's having his first stage for the first stage ever won by the DRC. I think that I can now go on. How do you say? I can stop everything.
This is just the beginning,
No,
Guy.
no,
This is just the beginning.
yeah.
And it's something a lot of people don't know in cycling, right? But you can meet professional cyclists that could race 15, 16 years who have never won a stage of a UCI race, in Europe, around the world as well. So it's a moment for him. And I'm glad you mentioned Jimmy, because like we first came across Jimmy a while ago. When Africa Rising was in Rwanda for Tour of Rwanda last year. And we were talking to Jimmy, and he was saying, look, we need bicycles like you mentioned before. And we'd said to him that actually we were working with Zwift on a huge project, or the beginning of a new project, to get a few hundred Zwift hubs into Africa, with an aim to get over 1,000 Africans, new Africans, like young riders, on Zwift in the next 2 to 3 years. The reason for that is we see Zwift as helping with some of the real core basics of cycling that you were talking about when you start a club, learning about power, learning about management, learning about recovery. And we spoke to Jimmy and said, look, we'll be in Rwanda. We can bring you a Zwift hub, but you have to come and get it. And it was an interesting situation because obviously at that point, the border was not particularly open. But we won't go into details. But a week later, there was a Zwift hub in Goma Cycling Club in the middle of the conflict at the time. And there was a video that Jimmy shared, which is one of the most poignant videos. And it went to Cycling Weekly and various press, of Jimmy training on a Zwift in the middle of the conflict with
Yeah.
armed people around the outside of the building. Like, can you just talk us through that moment of like how surreal that must have been to be doing virtual Zwifting in the middle of a conflict?
And this is, I know you are. Yeah, let me take this opportunity to thank you so much. Thank you so much, because I think that without this opportunity of the Swift, maybe the club could have disappeared. At that time. And also take the opportunity to thank Jimmy, for his leadership, because I'm not more in Goma, so Jimmy is there. We are renting a house there, that we consider as our center. That's my responsibility, supported by Jan once again. And yes, during very difficult moments, I don't want to go back to details. During difficult moments, we were asking. So one of the things I said is that I don't want to see no one outside, because of the situation. And so we were some of them, and I started to have pressure, high level pressure for this big group in Goma, that we want to train, we want to train, we want to train, we want to train. I said, as the president of the club, I don't think this is the right moment to do so. And then we had this opportunity, of with Swift and so on, and up to now, there is so much enthusiasm, around it currently. Some members of our group are attending training online, attending even the competition. Just before Joel, Jimmy was, I think it was third or second in one of the competition online, meaning that you you maintain our club alive. Could you imagine without that? And you are having people, or members of your club who want to train. Without that, it would have not been possible. So they were going from there, and they are a little bit far from the where we have the Swift. So they were obliged to go from there, to the center. And currently, currently, that's our main instrument. And this has changed a lot because at the end of all this, one day we had like a sort of competition, internal competition, and Joel attended also that competition. So he won. We the other group were like was behind, far behind him, and we said now we have to change the way we are doing things. This Swift is an opportunity, and then we created a club. Within the club, we created a group of young riders. I think they are among 16 and 19, who are member of that group, who will train online, attending the competition online. If we have an opportunity to have, to attend the competition, but now we are training them online, and we want to make sure that through that competition, they could attend like real competitions in wherever we would. So yes, it was a very difficult moment, but a very difficult moment with a solution. And that's the solution that we provided to us. A very difficult moment, but with a solution, and with that solution, a perspective. A solution, be able to train online, a perspective, be able to attend competition online, and even competition, outdoor. Yeah. So yes.
Yeah, that's what makes this so important, and that's what we told Zwift in the very beginning. We've also worked extensively with Wahoo as well, and it's always about giving these kids opportunities because they face obstacles that most people don't face. I mean, I use my Wahoo and Zwift in America when I'm riding in the winter because I can't go outside because it's too cold and
Yes.
snowy. I mean, your guys have a whole different need for it. So I'm so thrilled for that. And I just want to ask you, like, you've been doing this now for 10 years. You have started to have real success. You got 60 kids in a club, 60 kids that rely on you for food and protection. Like, what do you think is the legacy? How do you see Goma Cycling Club evolving over the next couple of years?
The first legacy, and this was said, it's structured. We are not it's structured. I knew exactly, what to do. So this is a story. I'm an international staff working in the DRC, and at a certain moment, I even went to I went to Somalia, and I came back to Cameroon. But from the beginning, I said, I'm not from Congo. I'm just an international staff. I may have to go. So the main legacy that I can give you is to share with you the knowledge how to manage this type of group. And that's what Jimmy is doing currently. And Joel also is starting to do with his own initiative, but the main legacy for me is make sure that Congolese boys and girls who are the member of the club have the knowledge, the experience that could help them continue with the dynamics that we have put in place. I think that's that because we can win, we can be 60, but that at the end, after me, into brackets, if I'm not more there, that I'm back to Cameroon, the club would just collapse, would just disappear. And that's what I don't want to see, I don't want to hear. And that's why I've given the responsibilities to Jimmy and the others. And I'm very sure that even if I make a decision now not to go back to Congo, they know how to manage, including funds. They know how to manage the group. They even know how to manage international relations, because I've opened everything. I was transparent with the whole group. So they can make contacts, they can talk to people, they know where is the interest of the group. And I'm so lucky to have Jimmy and some others that you don't know who are also there, who are working, for me, that's the main legacy, be able to manage building relations with people, including out of the country, manage human resources that are having there. If they receive fund support, be able to manage the support that they are receiving, including the bicycles, the material, and so on that they are receiving. If you go to Goma, we have a room where we are having our material. Everything is there. So I'm out here. Sometimes they put questions to me, President, can we do this? And I say, okay, yes, but make a decision, because I'm preparing for that perspective that I could not be there again.
Perfect. You can tell you're a lawyer, Guy. You summed it up very well. Well, thank you so much for your time today on the podcast. We'll obviously, as Kim mentioned, put in links to Goma Cycling Club and on your social media and things like that. But do you have any last words for our audience about how people can help Goma Cycling Club?
Yes, of course. And first of all, thank you for the opportunity. Once again, thank you once again for the opportunity that you are giving us. And once again, I will say thank you, Jan Simpson and the others who are supporting the club. Jeremy, thank you so much. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you. There are so many of them who have, supported the club as well. Now, we brought something to Goma, something new. We should make sure that this continues, because once again, this is not cycling for cycling, it's cycling for life, it's cycling for protection, and in order for this to continue, they should write, they should have material, they should attend competitions. Cycling should be like for them, like a sort of positive perspective for their future. And I can tell you for sure that some of them have built their houses, some of them have developed their businesses through cycling. So we want this to continue. And that's where, once again, I want to request for help, for boys and girls who have decided to develop through cycling, but not cycling for cycling, cycling for development. So please, even if you have, how do you call it? We call it in French, good. Where you put water, how do you call it?
You don't,
bottles. The bottles.
Bottles.
Okay, it's
Yes.
simple. How can that so? Even if you have a bottle, we'll be happy. Everything is important for us. A bottle, a bib shot, gloves, whatever. Even if, because I know in Europe, sometimes in America, these things you feel like this is not more important, I will just throw it. No. This is absolutely important for us. Even if you have an old bike, 10 years bike, you don't want to use, for us it's important. It would help someone, a boy or a girl in Goma, to see life otherwise, to feel like is important for someone in Europe or in the US or in Australia and so on. So that's, please help us to keep this dream alive. The dream called Cycling Club.
Perfect. What we'll do, we'll put the contact details for Goma Cycling Club in the podcast, so people can contact you with equipment or donations, bottles, as many bottles as you can get. So thanks so much for your time today, Guy. We'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Africa Rising Cycling Podcast. If you like what you have heard, please do share our podcast with your friends and on social media. Leave us a review or even make a donation to Africa Rising Cycling. All of this will help us to continue to bring you fascinating stories about African cycling.